Hello everyone, it's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. A few days ago, Aptera put out this video called Aptera Solar Charger, the third wheel. And this is where we have Chris McCammon talking to Chris Blust, who's one of the solar firmware engineers. And it looks like if you want to work at Aptera, your name has to be Chris. There's a lot of Chris's there. And this was a very informative video. I recommend you guys check it out. I'm sure most of you guys have seen it already. They talk about the solar MPP and MPT and just kind of like how they had to build their own controller to manage the shading and the rapidly changing shading and angles and stuff as the car drives. But anyway, there was an interesting thing in there talking about the accessory electrical port, which is located in the rear right of the trunk area. Now, those of you guys who have been watching our channel for a long time know that this accessory plug has been there. Back in February when we had this interview with Jason Hill, he told us that there's going to be a 12 volt there. At that point, he didn't know what the wattage was. The
Yeah.
electrical plug.
We are ready for a 12 volt.
Well,
That's 12.
oh yeah, that was a cigarette lighter.
Yeah,
That was an
12 volt.
auxiliary. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys know how much wattage that can put out?
I don't.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, so that at that point, he said he doesn't know the wattage. He just knows that there's an accessory port back there. And here is Chris and Chris talking about it, and they give us details. This is the detail we did not know back in February.
And what?
Oh, I thought you were announcing it.
Okay, I can announce it, sure. Yeah, and there's going to be an accessory port in the back of the vehicle. So this is a 15 amp, 12 volt accessory port, so you can, power your little stove if you're camping.
Okay, so here you go. It's good. It's the rear right of the trunk area. There's a little accessory port. So this is, essentially a cigarette lighter port. Of course, there's no cigarette lighter in there. Here's the cargo tie downs. And they gave us the specs. It's 12 volts because we know cigarette lighters are 12 volts and 15 amps. And if you remember from high school physics, power equals current times voltage. So watts equals amps times volts. So 15 amps times 12 volts equals 180 watts. So the maximum output of this accessory is 180 watts. So what can you power with 180 watts? Well, what you can do is you can power one of these little tea kettles. Now, this is not as fast as a tea kettle that you plug into your wall in your kitchen. Like that thing will boil water within about 2 minutes or less. This thing takes about 30 minutes to an hour to boil water because it's much less power going through it. But if you're willing to wait, you can get hot water and make yourself some coffee or a cup of soup or something like that with this thing. You can also have a refrigerator. So these are 12 volt refrigerators. They're like made for RVs and camping and things like that. This thing draws about 60 watts when it's active, and it cycles on and off. So I think they average up to about 40 watts of usage. And so you can power one of these. So that's very useful. If you go camping, it's really nice to have one of these, and you don't have to worry about ice melting in your ice box. You can just keep things cool. So that's really, really nice that it can run one of those. It can also run an inverter. Now this is a 300 watt inverter. Now you can't run 300 watts through this. You can only run 180 watts max, but you can plug in your computer and things like that, and it'll easily run a computer. Well, like a laptop computer, not like a desktop gaming computer. That's not going to be able to. 180 watts is not enough to run one of those. This is the cool thing is there are these electric blankets, and this has a power draw that you could. So if you were cold or like let's say that you're driving with your significant other and your significant other is really cold and likes things warmer, but you like things cooler on a drive, you could just throw one of these blankets on top of them, or when you're camping in the back, if it gets extra cold, you could definitely do this. This one doesn't take that much power, and you can definitely do that. There are these like little saucepans. Now, the thing that people are thinking that you can do, now this one's also very slow. It takes a long time to boil water. What people are thinking is these things. These are induction cooktops. These things cook very fast and they're very efficient. A lot of people have these in their home, but you can use, you can have these portable ones. This thing you cannot run with the accessory port in the Aptera currently. This thing has an adjustable wattage. You can adjust it between 600, 900, and 1500 watts. So the lowest wattage setting is 600 watts. And remember, the Aptera's accessory port maxes out at 180 watts. So you cannot use an induction cook port. That's kind of disappointing because if you're camping, it would be kind of nice to have an induction cooktop. Then you can kind of get rid of the whole propane stove or butane stove and use this instead and run it off the Aptera's batteries and run it off solar. Basically, it's solar cooking. That would be really nice to do. But if you wanted to do this, you're gonna have to buy one of these things, like a Jackery or an EcoFlow, like one of these solar, battery quote generators. They're just big battery packs. Like this one can output 1,000 watts continuously, and you could charge this using Aptera's accessory port. It would take a long time to charge it, but you could, or you could just get more solar panels on it. It's a shame that you would have to do that in order to use an induction pad like this, because if they had an accessory, then you wouldn't need that. You can run like little slow cookers or little rice cookers like this. So there's several things you can do. Now, and if you have an inverter, what kind of things can you run with that? Well, not a whole lot, because if you look at this, this tells you how many watts you need. Like, for example, let's say that the power went out in your house and you wanted to run your home refrigerator and just keep food cool, or the home freezer. Well, you're not going to be able to do that because a chest freezer or refrigerator is usually between like 500 to 1,000 watts. So that's a no-go. You cannot do that with the accessory port on the on the Aptera. And then can you run a laptop computer? Yes, you can. MacBook Pro, yeah, no problem. iPad, tablets, yes. Desktop with monitor, no, you can't do that. And then you're not gonna be able to run a laser printer. I don't know why you'd want to run a laser printer. You could run some larger TV screens if you wanted to. And then, like, let's say that you are doing some light construction work or something like that. You cannot really run any power tools off of it. You can't run a shop vac, bandsaw, table saw, circular saw, jigsaw. You can't run any of that stuff off of the accessory port. Or you can't run an air compressor. Well, you can run the little air compressors that they use to like inflate stand-up paddle boards, or inflatable camping mattresses, or your car tire. You can run those air compressors off of it, but you can't run like a air compressor that's going to run air tools off of it. So you really can't do that kind of stuff. So anyway, that is the capability. Now, if you remember, Hyundai has this thing where you plug this into their charging port, and it has a port here, and this will put out about 3,000 watts. So plenty of power, lots and lots of power. But Hyundai and Kia are the only ones that have this right now. And I don't think Aptera is working on that. I kind of briefly mentioned that to some of them, and I don't think that's on the boards. They want to get higher power ports in there, but I don't think it's making it to launch edition. It's something that they want. May happen like a year or two after the launch edition. You guys know, like the Ford F-150 can put out several thousand watts out of their AC outlets in the trunk of the car and the front of the car. So that you can run power tools off of that thing. That would be very useful. Like, let's say you wanted to run like a little small coffee shop or a small food truck out of your Aptera, which would be kind of a cool business idea, I think. You couldn't do that currently. Like, you're not going to be able to run a coffee maker or an induction stove with out of that accessory port. It just does not put up enough power. But there are several interesting things that you can do with it. And so it's very good that, I'm very glad they have one, and it's a decent amount of power. And I think for camping type stuff, it's going to do everything you want to do other than the induction cooktop. But if you want an induction cooktop, you're going to have to wait or kind of jerry rig it with an external battery pack like a Jackery or an EcoFlow or something like that. All right. Well, tell me what you guys think. Is this enough power for you? Would you like more? How important is that feature to you guys? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.